Let's do some technical analysis of Bitcoin. Let's mark some patterns, draw in some trend lines, see if we can figure out which way Bitcoin is going to go. Hi everybody. If you're new to my channel, my name is Joe. I've been investing since 1996, and the last 10 or 15 years I've been increasingly specializing in technical analysis. That's what I'd like to focus on today. I did do one other video on the fundamental case for Bitcoin. You might want to check that out. I'll link that at the end of the video and in the description. And you also might want to check out my Patreon. For only $10 a month, I do technical analysis of my portfolio and focus list. And with that, let's get started, except I got to say one other thing, and that is this is not investment advice. This is just one person's opinion, and it is just for entertainment and education. So let's look at the 10-year chart of Bitcoin first, and then we'll zoom in and look at the 1-year chart and try to make some sort of prognostication as to what's going to happen with Bitcoin in the next few weeks and months. And the first thing I'd like to say is, looking at this chart, it's very similar to a mid-cap stock in that it definitely looks like it's making traditional patterns that we can identify and predict price, which is good. And that makes sense because at the end of the day, Bitcoin is dominated by fear and greed, just like any other stock. Now, I say the mid caps instead of the large caps. The large caps, they tend to be a bit more random walky. There's so many eyeballs on them. Any new information is instantly priced in, and the price, while it certainly trends upward and downward, is definitely a little more random. But apparently there are not as many eyeballs watching the Bitcoin charts. And that makes sense, right? A lot of people just buy it and own it and hold it, and they aren't swing trading the chart and so forth. So let's mark up the 10-year chart, and you can skip to the 1-year chart if you want to, just by fast forwarding the video or jumping ahead. I guess we don't really fast forward these days. And if you stick around to the end, I'm going to show you a great website for finding articles on Bitcoin fundamental analysis. Well, here's our 10-year chart. Here's 2014, and I see a bunch of cup with handles here. Let's just mark this up together. This will be fun. So we're going to call this the primary base, like not sure where I was going with that. But so here we have, here's your cup. We can even draw this in. Here's our cup. And then we got a really nice traditional handle. And we've got some VCP action in the handle. Let's make that purple. See how it makes a large oscillation, and then a medium oscillation, and then a small oscillation. That is what's called volatility contraction. And that, combined with the decrease in volume, see how quiet the volume got in comparison to here, tells us that a breakout is imminent. Then it blasted off, and as is often the case, when any stock, and I guess Bitcoin, runs up to the lip line of a cup, it generally gets resistance. And sure enough, the swing traders who bought down here took profits. The poor suckers who bought over here sold at break even, thanking their lucky stars. Came back down, bounced off the 200-day. One thing you'll notice is that the big fish and the institutions, they like to buy dips off of the 200. So often we'll see support of stocks the first couple times that they bounce off, the first couple times that they return to the 200-day, the institutions will swoop in and buy. That's what I was trying to say. In this case, here's our 200-day, and it does, although it definitely got support here, it kind of looks like the price is ignoring that for the most part, although we did get a bounce here. So it's pretty inconclusive. Different stocks, or commodities for that matter, and I guess is Bitcoin a commodity, have different personalities, and this one seems to ignore the 200-day more than other stocks. that I have looked at over the years. Let's continue. What a parabolic run in 2018. Millionaires were made. Lamborghinis were purchased. And then we had kind of a climax parabolic run. Note the increasing volume here. That's characteristic of a parabolic run. And then we had a steep sell-off. And here we have another cup with handle way down deep in this cup. Here's your big cup, right? Let's go back to blue. It would take some guts to buy with this much supply to the left. I personally would not have been comfortable doing that. But we definitely had a little cup. Here's our handle. We had another nice breakout again. And it did pull back before it got to the top of the cup, which makes sense. So much supply here. And if you bought here, you were up so much, you would be very tempted to cash it in. Let's draw a line across the all-time high here, the all-time high of 2017. And when it made its next run, it really didn't give us much of an entry point, did it? Here's a line of resistance. We kind of have a head and shoulders bottom, but it definitely is pretty misshapen. Here's a shoulder. Oh, what happened? Here's a head. There we go. And gosh, we didn't get much of a right shoulder. But if we cheat a little bit, we draw a line across the neckline, maybe something like that. And that would have gotten us in right here. Now, it's very common when a stock, or in this case Bitcoin, breaks out. I don't know the odds. It depends on the strength of the market. But in general, half the time, a stock is going to pull back near exactly or just below its breakout point. And in this case, we got a classic pullback there. So what we could do is you can buy half on the breakout. And then if it just goes, you got to be happy with that. If it pulls back and then bounces, when it bounces, which would be right about here, that's when you would buy, add your other half of shares. Let's see, ran up in 2020. Virtually everything did, although interestingly, the market blasted off in March. Well, I guess if you look at it in this, if you zoom in, we really did have a run from March 2020 up to the end of 21. So yeah, that makes sense. Here we got a double top. So we can use patterns also to determine when to sell. Here's one top. Here's your other top. And I would actually put my line right there, like so. Now, just like when stocks break out, to the upside, when they break out to the downside, at least half the time you'll get a retest. So it plunged through, and then it came back and rolled over again. And that would be the time. If you were caught unaware, you could have sold when it came back the second time. And what if you sell there and then it continues up? Well, you just buy back at a little bit higher price, and that's the cost of managing your risk, right? And so we're almost to the 1 year chart. What we have going on here is we have another cup going, don't we? And it does seem like it often will make a handle before it gets up to the lip. And sure enough, it looks like we're getting a handle down here, doesn't it? Let's zoom in to the 1 year chart and see if we can make any sense of that. Okay, so here's our 1 year chart. This is here's your steep downtrend of 2022. Bitcoin crashed with all the other speculations in the market, like the high growth stocks, for instance. And here's the bottom of that crash, and here we have, in essence, a double bottom. This is called an eve double bottom because they're pretty rounded. Now, technically, you can buy a double bottom right there when it breaks out of the double bottom, but with this much supply here, with all these trap buyers, I personally would not have done that. draw a line across the lip. Now, it did give us a handle, but this handle is quite short. The right side of this is very compressed. You want to see more oscillations and gyrations, shaking out weak hands. So when you have a breakout of a stock with a compressed right side, with a cup, when you have a breakout of a cup with a compressed right side, particularly if the handle is short, then usually you'll have a pullback. Sure enough, we had our pullback, and then we had another wicked pullback, which probably shook out a lot of shoe clerks. I probably would have bid on this right here, and I probably would have gotten shaken out. Let's see what... Oh, actually, wow, I probably would have just gotten shaken out, because I do usually about a 5% stop, maybe a 5 and a 10 staggered stop, and that would have just taken me out. That's brutal. Got support on the 200-day. We did say that if a stock breaks out and the big fish miss the breakout, they often will wait and load up on the 200-day. This is called a hammer candle. When you see a downtrend, then a hammer candle, and then the next day a candle going up on strong volume, which we had here, that's a good signal that the downtrend is done, at least temporarily. So if we were very nimble, we could have bought this thing right here. Now, what do we do? Here's what I'm seeing, and let me know what you're seeing. So we had a nice little run up here from this breakout, about 40%. From here, probably about 50%. And now it's giving some of that back, as stocks do. They don't just go straight up. And Bitcoin, in essence, is traded like a stock, right? It's down about 18%. That's good. We don't want to see it give back more than half the move. Half the move would be right there. So, assuming the general market improves, then investors will get more speculative and look for speculations. Bitcoin is the ultimate speculation. So, assuming that's the case, what I suspect will happen is Bitcoin will oscillate in this trend channel and then ultimately break out to the upside. Let's draw one more line. That's a potential area, 25,000. It's a nice round number, and we've got a little bit of potential demand here. That seems like that would be a logical place for Bitcoin to come down to, but I wouldn't hold that as gospel. I would just watch this trend channel. Let's do a little let's get out the old snip tool, and let's just watch the price. Let me see. Let's go blue. It's oscillating. When it breaks out, what I personally would do if I were buying is I would buy half of it here. Then it more than likely will retest like so. And then if it bounces, I'd buy the second half right there. That's my number one. But I wouldn't just buy it when it touches this line. I would wait for a significant bounce because I always want to buy in the direction of the trade. Those are my thoughts. That's my technical analysis of Bitcoin. Let me know if you have any questions or comments on the analysis. And let me show you, I've got a link in the description for Seeking Alpha Premium. I'm partnered with Seeking Alpha Premium, and this is an awesome place to find fundamental analysis articles. Here's a model portfolio I have, and what's cool about this is you can sort it by performance, you can sort it alphabetically, yada, yada, yada. But also, if you go over here and click on Bitcoin, you will see a plethora of news reports and analysis on Bitcoin, and by many different analysts. Bitcoin liquidity suggests a price drop is coming. That's certainly not good. But here's a bullish one. The investment case for Bitcoin. I don't know what that's all about. about Bitcoin ordinals. Wow, showing my ignorance about Bitcoin. Why Buffett never bought Bitcoin. Sell the market. This guy's a strong sell. Wow. Bitcoin, a flash crash, and a look at the fundamentals. So some people read a bunch of fundamental articles first and then decide whether to buy a stock. What I do is I buy a stock or Bitcoin when the chart is looking strong, and then I read articles on it and try to determine, okay, is this a flash in the pan? Is this only going to be running for a few weeks, or does this have a fundamental case where it might be a strong multi-year hold? So yeah, check out Seeking Alpha Premium, and you can check out the free version too first if you like. And we will see. Personally, I think the market is going to improve, and I think investors are going to be more flush with cash and feeling risky and start pouring money into speculations like Bitcoin, and we will see it run up to all-time high here, and then that'll be interesting. It almost certainly will get resistance there, at least short term. Okay, take care everybody. Let me know your thoughts and comments.